Now, that's a bald-faced lie, and I'd ask anybody, think about the fact that Kamala Harris, anybody watching, think about the fact that Kamala Harris is bragging about inflation being lower. When you go to the grocery, does inflation feel like it's lower?
Nope.
Are American houses actually affordable for American citizens? Everywhere you look, prices are higher, things are more expensive, and American citizens can't afford the basic necessities. Look, I grew up in a family where my mama sometimes struggled to buy the things that she needed. Sometimes she wouldn't buy prescription drugs so that she could afford to put food on our family table. I know what it's like when Washington leaders fail to do their job. And so Kamala Harris, instead of running a victory lap over your own policy failures, why don't you get out there and talk to the American people and tell them how you're actually going to fix this terrible inflation problem caused by your policies? You know, gas prices are up 45% under Kamala Harris. That's just in Michigan. In Michigan, home prices are up 41%. I know we have a lot of parents and a lot of grandparents in this room. Speaking as the father of 3 young children, I would like my kids, when they grow up and move out, and hopefully that eventually happens, but when they grow up and they move out, I want them to be able to afford home ownership in the United States of America. That's a core part of the American dream, right? And we know a lot of our young people right now cannot afford to own a home in the United States of America. Kamala Harris has failed to deliver the basic necessities of an economic prosperity for our citizens. And I think that we ought to say something very simple to Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump's very fond of saying it. You're fired. Go back to San Francisco where you belong. We're getting the president the American people deserve. I really worry, by the way. You know, we don't talk about this enough. I see we've got a lot of young people in this crowd. It's great. We've got some great generational diversity in this crowd. And I love that. I love that about our events. But to young people, I want you to be able to own a slice of your own country. I want you to be able to build something, to build some wealth for yourself and for your family. You know, under Kamala Harris's policies, we've got credit card debt that is through the roof. We've got young people who can't afford to buy a home. We're creating a country where my generation, the millennial generation, and everybody younger, they're going to be paupers in their own country. And I think that's a disgrace. I want the American dream to be affordable again, and it's only going to happen when we put Donald J. Trump back in the White House. My friends, I did not realize this. We are joined by a real celebrity, Brick Suit Man, right here in the second row. And a way bigger celebrity than I am, this guy. But you're going to talk about housing, and the media, they don't like to talk about the fact that one of the biggest drivers of housing costs, one of the biggest reasons why our young people can't afford to buy a home, is because under Kamala Harris's leadership, we have let in millions upon millions of people who don't have any right to be here. It's a big driver of housing costs. So illegal immigration, we care about it for a whole host of reasons. We care about it because we want to raise our children in safe communities. We care about it because we want people in our country who respect the rule of law, who don't violate our borders. We, of course, care about it because I know a lot of us know somebody who's been affected by this terrible drug epidemic. We want to give people second chances to get sober and to get clean, and that's not happening when Mexican drug cartels are bringing fentanyl into our country, killing our people. So we care about the border for all the reasons that we discuss, and there's a lot of them, but something the media just doesn't talk enough about is think about this. When you bring in, and I think the number is about 25 million illegal aliens that we have in the United States of America right at this minute. When you have let 25 million people into this country, think about it. You got to house them somewhere. Most of them aren't living on the streets. We got American veterans living on the streets, but we've got illegal aliens living in first-class hotels and American cities all across our country. But when you do that, you have American homes that are going to people who have no right to be here in the first place. And you know what that means? That means American citizens can't afford to own a slice of their own country. President Trump believes in this very simple principle: American homes for American citizens, not for people who have no legal right to be in the United States of America. You know something else that happens when you let in too many illegal aliens? Hospital wait times get really big. You know, when I was growing up, that's often how we went to the doctor. Is Mamaw would take us to the emergency room, and you know what? Emergency room wait times have skyrocketed in the last few years. So why are we allowing illegal aliens to come into our country and get health care that ought by right to go to American citizens? Why don't we take care of our own people and put American citizens first for a change? It's got to stop. The final thing I want to talk about with the border, because, I mean, look, you can talk about the border for the next half hour. But the other thing that is crazy about the border is in the state of Michigan, I didn't know this statistic until today, there are 85,000 students in Michigan public schools who are the children of illegal aliens. 85,000. Now think about that. Think about what it does to a poor school teacher who's just trying to get by with what they have, is trying to educate their kids, and then you drop in a few dozen kids into that school, many of whom don't even speak English. Do you think that's good for the education of the American citizens? No, it's not. So what really bothers me is when Kamala Harris talks about the southern border, she talks about how we need to be compassionate to illegal aliens. And I think we're a great country. We can be compassionate, and we ought to be compassionate, but our compassion has to start with our fellow citizens, the people who deserve to be in the United States to begin with.
Get our veterans off the streets.
And this is what I think is fundamentally different about Donald Trump's immigration policies versus Kamala Harris's wide open southern border is Donald Trump believes, yes, we can be compassionate, but the best way to be compassionate is to enforce our border laws and take care of American citizens first. That is where the responsibility of America's leadership ought to be. So I want to talk about one other thing, and then we'll take some questions from the press. But, you know, we've got 28, or depending on how you count, 27 days left in this election. That is not a whole lot of time. And I know that in states all across our country, including in some of the battleground states, people are already voting. You know, people have already been sending me photos where they went out and voted for me and President Trump. That's obviously an incredible honor, by the way, to come from my family and to be sitting up here and asking all of you to make me your next Vice President of the United States. It's very humbling. It's an incredible honor. Now, y'all are way too kind. I appreciate it. But look, we're going to win this election. I really do believe we're going to win the state of Michigan. We're going to win this election. But we're going to win this election not just to beat the Democrats, as fun as that's going to be. I'm going to really enjoy beating Kamala Harris. But we want to beat Kamala Harris because we want the American people to have a government that they deserve, a government that puts them first, a government that takes care of the American people's problems and not the problems of illegal aliens and people who don't deserve to be here. So let's just think about the contrast between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. We talked about illegal immigration earlier. Well, Kamala Harris has rolled out the red carpet to illegal aliens, has said we're going to give Medicare and Social Security benefits. That's the message that she has sent to people who want to cross the border illegally and come to this country. You know what Donald Trump's message is to illegal aliens? You got 4 months, pack your bags because you're going home when Donald Trump is back in the White House. Kamala Harris's entire economic policy is to tax American citizens and to force them to buy things they don't even want to buy that are made overseas. That's terrible for American workers. That's terrible for American taxpayers. Donald Trump's plan is to cut taxes on American citizens, cut taxes on American workers, and penalize corporations that are shipping our jobs overseas. That is an America First economic plan. Donald Trump's basic energy policy is drill, baby, drill. And it is a hell of an energy policy because, look, we have got the most bountiful natural resources anywhere in the world. So why does Kamala Harris want to put American energy workers out of business and force us to buy energy from tin pot dictators all over the world? Let's buy it from our own people, from our own territory, and that's how you build American prosperity. And that's actually, by the way, my friends, another big difference between Donald Trump's policies and Kamala Harris's policies. You know, when they asked Donald Trump, what is your most important thing you can do to lower inflation? He actually gives a very simple but a very specific answer: drill, baby, drill. Because energy goes in the cost of everything, right? Think about it. If the truck drivers are paying more for gas, then the groceries they deliver to the grocery store are going to get more expensive. If the truck drivers are paying more for diesel, then they deliver lumber to a job site to build a house. That means housing is going to get more expensive too. And of course, we know, ask any manufacturer, one of their biggest costs is the cost of energy. So you lower the cost of energy, you create good jobs, you create great prosperity, and you bring down the cost of goods for everyday American citizens. It is a win-win economic policy. It is the smartest and most important thing we can do. But Kamala Harris's economic policy, you heard her say it on The View today, it's to do exactly what Joe Biden did, and it's going to lead to the exact same place. Higher inflation, fewer Americans with good jobs, and a manufacturing sector that we're shipping to China instead of building right here in the great city of Detroit. That is a lose-lose economic plan, and I think we ought to have the win-win economic plan of Donald J. Trump. So before I take questions from reporters, I want to ask a very simple thing. Absentee voting has started in Michigan. That means that you can request and return a ballot right now. And we got to do everything. We got to take care of every opportunity to vote that the state of Michigan is providing. Because look, I talk to a lot of people. It's one of the things you do when you run for vice president. You talk to a lot of people, and you know, 95% of the people I meet will say, I wanted to vote for Donald Trump in 2020, and I did. But then a few of them will tell me, I wanted to vote for Donald Trump, but I didn't. Because I planned to vote on election day, but then my kid got sick, and I had to go pick him up from school. Or I had a really late day at work, and I didn't expect it. And so by the time I got out of work, you know, working those overtime hours, the polls were already closed. I gotta be honest with you, I don't like the fact that we've gone from election day to election season in this country, but it is what it is. And if the Democrats are going to take advantage of every avenue to vote, then Republicans, we've got to do it too. So get out there, make your voice heard, and get out there and vote. There's a website I want you to take down. I ask you to do two things here. Number one, take down this website, swampthevoteusa.com, swampthevoteusa.com. On that website, you can check your registration, you can check your polling location, you can make sure your registration is up to date. That is a very good resource for you to use. The other thing I want you to do is I want you to take out your phone and take a photo right now. You can take it of you and your friends at this event. You can take it of me up here on the podium. This is making the Secret Service very nervous, by the way. So please move slowly, my friends. But here's the thing. We're never going to have the power of the dishonest national media behind us, but we do have people power. We can talk about why we're voting for Donald Trump, and we can do it in our capacity as citizens of this country. So I'm sure you all have some social media, or maybe you just text, whatever you do, email, text, put it on x.com, put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram. Just say why you're voting for Donald Trump for president. Because if every single person does that, and 100 people see what you put out there, then that means thousands upon thousands of people are going to hear the truth about Donald J. Trump and not the dishonesty from the media. That is the biggest and best thing that we can do. We'll take some questions from reporters. I want to thank you all for being here. Thanks for having me. I'll leave you with some final thoughts, but it's such an honor to be here and to get this welcome in the Motor City. God bless you all. Thank you so much.